Okay, so you can film me to begin with. So basically, thank you. I can't remember that. Roman is leash reactive. So suddenly something happened, and when he's on a leash and he sees another dog, he goes crazy, right? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to condition him to look away. Dogs can only do one thing at a time. So if I'm looking this direction, something's happening over here, I really can't pay attention to it. So what we want him to do is when he sees another dog, instead of reacting to the other dog, we want him to sit down and look up at you. Now the way we do this, the technique I use is something I got from my mentor, Karen London. She wrote a book called Feisty Fido, Solutions to the Leash Reactive Dog, I think is the subtitle. And basically she co-authored this book, and what it is it teaches your dog to look at you rather than to look elsewhere, or to react by looking at the dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a handful of these treats out. I've got about 5 or 7 in this hand, and I got 1 in this hand. I'm going to ask him to sit. Actually, it's a little bit better if you're looking at me. All right, so sit. So I've got a handful here, and I've got 1 here. I'm putting them both down, and I'm waiting for him to look at me in the face. Sit. Sit. So this is demanding, but it's not getting him the treat. It's starting to look a little shifty, buddy. Sit. Sit. Watch. Go down to 2 knees. All right. Sit. Sit. He's a little bit too keyed on the treat. Sit. 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 You're making me look bad on camera. Sit. Watch. Watch. Now I prefer to have him sitting down, but basically I'll kind of explain because he's not cooperating because right now he's really excited. So this would be a time you want to do this after he's gotten a lot of exercise. So basically what you do is you put him in a sit right here, sit, and then you wait. He's looking at your hands, and the idea is not to give him one until he looks me in the face. Watch. So as soon as he gives me eye contact, I don't ask for it, I wait for it. Now I cheated a little bit and exhaled there, but as soon as he looks me in the eyes, I immediately give him a treat and I say watch the second it touches his lips. Now you want to keep doing that until, at first he's going to look at one hand, look at the second hand, and look up at you, then boom. Your eyes are not all that great. Sit. So I'm holding between my face and his and lingering for a second. Now I should have said watch the second it touches his lips. So what you want to do is practice this inside. So you put him in front of you and just sit. If you have to use a leash to keep him from running around, and we wait for him to give you eye contact. Watch. There we go. This is better. Watch. So now I'm starting to hold it and orientate it between my eyes and his eyes. Watch. So I'm going to kind of just explain the rest of it because he's not cooperating. So basically we put him into a sit, again use a leash, and just wait for him to look at you in the eye, and then hold the treat out between your face and his, and then go straight line towards his mouth. Say watch the second it goes into his lips. Keep on doing that until he starts looking up at you faster and faster. Eventually you get to the point where he does it on his own where where he just gets to the point where he just sits down and looks at you right in the face. Then we want to do it where we have something going on. We maybe enlist Michael's help. So Michael maybe asks, plays a video game or has some music playing, or Michael's walking around the room. So there's a little bit of a distraction, and you keep on practicing the watch exercise. And then we do it where maybe Dad and Michael are both doing something to distract. We want to gradually make it a little bit more and more difficult to do by adding the distractions. Then the next stage that I would do it is once you've done it in the house several times, and as you're doing it, you want to hold it a little bit longer each time that you're going to his mouth. So it gets to the point where it's like a second or two before it goes into his mouth. Then what I would do is I would go to your deck and close the stairs, don't let them go down the stairs, and practice it outside. There's a lot of other distractions outside, sights, sounds, smells. Practice it outside when there aren't any dogs on the trail, it's just you guys. And then practice it in your yard once you have sod down. And you keep on practicing it in gradually increasing levels of difficulty. Now, when you get to the point where your dog, pretty much without any distractions, is still sitting there, and make sure he's sitting, and he's sitting and looking at you, then what you do is go to like a park or somewhere where where you can have a field of view like this. So the dog, and you have the dog sitting next to you, and you can see maybe there's some trees on this side, just a clearing this way, and there's a path. So you're watching, and this is a place where a lot of dogs walk by. So you're sitting, you have him here, and then as soon as you see a dog come out in the distance, you tell him to watch. You put him in a sit and then do the watch. Now the key is to make sure that the trail is far enough away from him where he doesn't consider it to be a threat. He won't sit down if it's too close. So keep on increasing the distance until he'll stay sitting when he sees that dog. So as soon as you see the dog, you say watch. And he should be conditioned to, at this point, to sit down immediately, look up at you. And then you hold it and then say watch. And the first time you do it when there's another dog, give it to him pretty quickly, and then you want to start gradually increasing the amount of time. Now eventually, you're going to keep on staying at that distance until one of the times you see a dog. After a while, at first you say watch as soon as you see the dog. After a while, wait a half a second after the dog appears before you say watch. What will happen is eventually, he's going to see a dog and he's going to look up at you. Karen calls this the auto watch. As soon as he does that, you should sit here and feed him 10 treats in a row. Watch, watch, watch. Let him chew it a little bit, but you want him thinking like, I don't know what I just did, but I got the mother load. And so every time now he starts to see another dog, he's going to start giving the auto watch. Not every time, it's going to build up. Sometimes you might distract and you have to say watch. But you want to get to the point where when he sees another dog, he immediately stops what he's doing, sits down, and looks up at you. And that should be, when you first get your first auto watch, that should be like the highlight of your day. Afterwards, after you give him the treats, you should like take him away, play with him, throw the ball, whatever his favorite things are to do. But you really have to master it in the house. So keep on practicing at that level of distraction until he can do it consistently with the radio on or the TV on, or Michael's playing basketball or whatever it is. And gradually keep on bringing it to more and more intense state of mind, more distracted states. But eventually you get to the point where you'll see a dog and then he just looks up at you, boom, and you're just giving, instead of him looking at the dog, he's sitting down, he's looking this way. So to the dog, remember we talked about this is a challenge, this is approachable. So if he sits down and puts the other dog on his side, he's telling the other dog, I don't perceive you as a threat. That will calm the other dog down, most times, unless that other dog's really unbalanced. Now, if you can't and that dog's unbalanced, then just walk away, if you have to. And that's actually Karen's plan B, is she practices something called the turn. So if she's walking and you run into a dog that you're unexpected, so what she does is she dips her knees first, and that usually gets the dog to turn with you. Now, what I would do is, what she does is practice this turn. So she has the dog on a leash with a handful of treats. You're just walking down the street for no reason. You just dip and start turning. As soon as the dog turns, pop the treat in his mouth and say the word turn. You want to keep on practicing that, so if you're walking somewhere and somebody just comes around a corner and surprises you, you don't have time to go get a treat and say watch. You just instinctively turn and you walk away. And that way, if you do it enough, the dog will just turn and follow you. And instead of reacting at the other dog, he just turns and follows your lead. This is it seems ridiculously simple. It works very, very effectively if you put in the time. The people who do not get a good result with this skip it and they rush ahead of time. Now, for some dogs, the treat is not the strongest reward. For some dogs, it's a squeaky ball or a squeaker toy or whatever it is. Let the dog pick it out. Now, if you're using treats, I would get a really high value treat, something that has a very strong aroma like the Tricky Trainer liver flavored ones that I gave you guys during the session. So keep on practicing that until you get to the point where eventually he goes, if I see an approaching dog and I sit and turn and look away, I get a really big reward. And then that stops the leash reactivity. Now, we still might need to do some counter conditioning later on if that doesn't completely solve your problem. If we can't take him to the dog park or doggy daycare or places like that, we might need to do something a little bit more in depth where we counter condition him to associate positivity with other dogs. But for right now, I think for your situation, just teaching him to look away with the watch command is going to be your best course of action.